Welcome to Pitts Toyota, downtown Dublin, where people go to buy great cars at great prices. We're a family-owned and operated full-service automobile dealership, serving Middle Georgia since 1947.
It's our promise to provide you with an enjoyable, stress-free shopping experience. We have a full-service website that's fast, convenient, and easy to navigate.
We provide a balance between the big city selection and the warm, familiar atmosphere of a hometown business.
Toyota, let's go places.
First off, I'd just like to say thanks to all of you who have come out here to honor these 21, but not just these 21, but all who served and fought and gave everything for their country. I think that there's no greater love, it says in the Bible, no greater love any man can show than to lay down his life for a friend. And think of what kind of love, respect, and honor it took to go overseas and to serve our country, especially at a time like 1914 through 17. We live in a great country. We've had a lot of problems. We've solved a lot of problems. We got some left to solve. But I'm just so thankful for all those people, especially these 21 and their families, who picked up a weapon and stood the post to serve this great country, to defend not only our freedom, but the freedom of those people in Europe. Let us never forget that. Thank you all for being here. And I say this on behalf of the mayor and city council. Thank you.
Welcome all to this beautiful day and this important occasion. On behalf of the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, I do welcome you. 100 years, 1 month, and a few days ago, the armistice was signed that ended World War I, which was the Great War and should have been the war to end all wars. And in that conflict, as in every conflict this country has ever been a part of, Lawrence County men paid the ultimate price. When they came home, not all were honored and not all were remembered. There'll be many people that are thanked today, but I have to thank one in particular, Scott Thompson. Without him, these men's names may have been lost forever. So thank you, Scott, for keeping their legacy and their sacrifice from disappearing forever. This is the 5th courthouse on this site. Is that right, Scott? In our county's entire history, people have always naturally congregated here. And when they do, from now on, after we're all long gone, these men's names will be in bronze and stone for everyone to see, as is right and fitting. To everyone who's ever served, to every veteran, to everyone who is serving, when you put on the uniform, you defended our way of life and you told our enemies that we would do whatever was necessary to preserve this great country that we have. So I want to thank everyone who's ever served today and everyone who has ever served. Finally, although it's been 100 years, I think it's wonderful because as Americans we're taught that the time is always right to do what is right. So thank you for being here today to witness us all doing the right thing. Thank you.
It's an honor to be with you today. I always say any day that you can honor a veteran is a great day. Amen? Amen. All right. There's not much more I can say that's already been said this morning to honor these 21 heroes that paid the ultimate sacrifice to this great country so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we have today. And to all the veterans that have served this great country, I want to personally thank you for your service. It is never, ever too late to say thank you. There's a special person to me here today. He means so much to me, and he meant so much to Commissioner Pete Wheeler. He is a true warrior for all veterans. Bubba, I can't thank you, sir, enough for all that you do and will continue to do. But today, to the families of those 21 fallen heroes, thank you. God bless you, God bless your families, and God bless the United States of America.
First Lawrence Bank invites you to experience banking at its best. Whether you have personal or business needs, we're a full-service bank big enough to handle all of your banking needs and small enough to provide you with that personal touch you've grown to expect from a community bank like First Lawrence Bank. Looking forward to your future? That's First Lawrence Bank in Dublin and Dexter, member FDIC.
My name is Keith Smith with American Legion. I would also like to, just before I get started, to recognize a couple of people myself here. Mr. Gus Albritton, which is right over here on the side, volunteered over 25 years of service at the VA Center. Also like to recognize our Chief of Communications, Mr. Scott Whittington, and longtime friend to the American Legion, Dr. Robert Oliver. And lastly, our post commander over here to my left, Commander James Drury. As Johnny said, I've been asked to give the background to the ceremony for which you're here today. The recognition of these brave veterans we honor began a little over 2 years ago when Dr. Virginia Dilks of the Georgia World War I Commission began the task of contacting as many counties as possible throughout the state in order to find out what, if anything, that each county would be doing to commemorate our veterans during the World War I centennial. Dr. Dilks started out accomplishing this task by contacting each of the newspapers throughout the counties. When they got to the Courier Herald, two names came up, and I blame this on Peyton more than anything else, and that was Scott Thompson and myself. So Dr. Dilks made contact with me about April of 2016, and I was able to tell her that Scott had already began working on the verification process of the list of names that had been left off of our monument. Our goal was to honor the veterans and give them full measure in the war effort. Scott had discovered the names of some colored veterans from Lawrence County which had been previously left off the monument. And even though we knew this era had been around for a while, we decided the most appropriate time to honor these veterans would be this year during this centennial year. The stone portion of the monument will remain the same, and the current plaque will be removed, and a new plaque will replace the old one with the addition of the 21 names that we are honoring today to be listed alphabetically with the 23 existing names that are there now for a total of 44 names. Dr. Dilks and fellow scholar Dr. Lamar Veach, who is with us today, have made several trips here to the Dublin-Lawrence County area to further the research and make sure that the efforts that are going here in Lawrence County be known at the state level to the World War I Commission. And we very much thank Dr. Veach and his efforts for this event. A little over a year ago, I made contact with Mr. Buddy Adams to inform him of the research that was being conducted and that we would need his help and permission from local officials to redoing the monument. At this time, I'd like to turn the podium back over to Johnny Payne, who has truly been at the forefront, along with Buddy Adams, in getting permission to redo the monument and for the financing of this project.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and on behalf of the United States World War I Centennial Commission and the Georgia World War I Centennial Commission, is that me, or I bring greetings and congratulations and especially thanks to this community for what you all have done and are doing today. This meets one of the goals of the Georgia World War I Centennial Commission, which is to recognize belatedly the contributions of the African American community in Georgia. That list you mentioned, that Johnny mentioned, contains over 1,230 African Americans out of 3,600 Georgians that died. So the African American contribution is absolutely considerable. And I want to thank this community. The commissions want to thank this community for what you all are doing here. It will be a tremendous memory and a tremendous accomplishment in this centennial year. Johnny and all, congratulations.
You wouldn't buy a gallon of milk and immediately pour 70% of it out, would you? Then why would you do that with power for your home? 70% of electricity is lost on the way to your house, making it only 30% efficient. But natural gas is 92% efficient. Electricity is good to power your lights and electronics, but using natural gas for certain appliances is the most cost-effective, energy-efficient, and environmentally friendly mix for your home. Use it, don't lose it. Choose the right energy mix. Choose natural gas.
It is my task to call out the names of the World War I veterans as a way of honoring them and recognizing family members. However, since most of you with the same last name do not know if you are a family member, I am asking those persons with the same last names to honor that veteran by raising your hand to show love, honor, and respect. Now, I'm not saying that that's your family member. You don't know, I don't know, but you got the same last name. So raise your hand and let's give some love and respect to the World War I veterans. Is that all right? That's right. All right, thank you. John W. Adams. Walter Berry, James Bradley, Fisher Bazille, James Brown, Sammy Burke, Freeman Coley, William Coney. Oh, we got some hands over here. How about that? Thank you. Oscar Fullwood, Ben F. Howell, Jesse Kelly, Frazier Linder, DeWitt Lindsay. Thank you. I know we got one on the stage. Thank you. Rayfield Meacham, George McLeod. Got one, thank you. John Stevens, Ed Stuckey. Got some out here, thank you. Stuckey, yes. Edgar Towns. All right, we don't know, do we? No, we don't know. Ed Washington, Wayman Woodard. Okay. McKinley Yop. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I need you. You need me. And we are all what? A part of God's family. And we thank you. And thank you for raising your hands and recognizing these veterans as we call their name. I sincerely appreciate that. We have one member that's in the audience I know of, but there could be more that had a relative as well that was in the World War I. This gentleman sitting right down front, hold your hand up, sir. He had his dad was in the World War I. And what was his name? Corbett White. All right, thank you. Thank you very much for your support and a showing of love to the World War I veterans. Thank you.
Dublin Tire is a family-owned and operated company that has been in business since 1955. Is your truck consuming excessive oil? Bring your vehicle to us. You can trust our experienced team to provide complete truck repair services. Does your vehicle need new tires? We can provide you with auto tires from the best brands. You can also count on us for quality truck tires and other auto services. We also provide 24-hour emergency services. Call today for more information or visit us online.
Veterans, patriots, friends, old friends and new friends, it is a most humbling honor to stand before you today and to speak about our community's involvement in World War I. World War I began in Europe in 1914 and was basically confined to Western Europe for most of the war. Some of our young men got their training as members of the Dublin Guards, who trained in this building right over here to my left. Others were involved in the war in Mexico in 1916. But surprisingly, even though the war started in July of 1914, our country did not declare war until April of 1917. Thousands of people gathered on this very spot where you sit and stand today to cheer on and to pray for our soldiers serving in the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and we didn't have an Air Force back then, and to pray that they should return safely. Sadly, we know that some did not return. Our mayor, Peter Twitty, resigned his place as mayor to serve in the United States Army. His successor, Izzy Bashinsky, donated his mayoral salary to the Red Cross. Right down the street here on South Jefferson Street lived Dr. Annie Yarbrough, the first or second female African-American dentist in the history of our state. She too, like her brothers, wanted to serve, but in those days, women were not allowed to serve in combat positions in the medical corps. Right up the road from us, Camp Wheeler, a United States Army infantry camp, was born. Served our country both in World War I and World War II. One of the most lasting effects of the war came in the fall of 1919, when Company A of the 121st Georgia Infantry was commissioned right here in Dublin, Georgia, and headquartered right down the street. What is significant about that is it became Georgia's National Guard. And in doing so, Company A of the 1st Georgia National Guard was also the first company organized in the southeastern United States of the modern-day National Guard. Another lasting impact was the formation and growth of the American Red Cross. I have a photograph of American Red Cross volunteers standing on the steps and serving the soldiers and the families of soldiers. A third lasting effect in 1919 was the formation of the American Legion, which I was proud to be a son of a longtime post commander, my father, Dale Thompson. I cannot go without thanking Helen Harper, our probate court judge. In a modern era where a lot of elected officials throw out old records, Judge Harper made the decision not only to keep the records, but to guard the records. She allowed me to copy those records, and that became the basis of my research, which ends or actually begins today. It is never hard to do the right thing. Doing the right thing is always easy. It's never too late to right a wrong. And it is never, ever too late to say, thank you, gentlemen. to all of the men, and thankfully the men from Lawrence County who gave the last full measure of devotion for the United States of America. At this point, it is only fitting and proper that I use the words of one of our former presidents. But before I do that, I would be strongly remiss if I didn't salute probably the two greatest champions of veterans in our community today, and that's Mr. Buddy Adams and Mr. Johnny Payne. They have been my mentors, my leaders, and my inspiration to continue their roles in the future. It was in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania in 1863 when President Abraham Lincoln spoke before a crowd. I'll pause for a minute. From time to time, I do foreclosures up here and have to yell, so let's let that truck go by. So, if you will, in the words of the late Abraham Lincoln, modified a little bit, 50 years ago, the world was involved in a great war, the war to end all wars. Millions of souls died during that great war. But the world will little note, no long remember what we say here today, but it should never forget what these men did a century ago here in America and over there in Europe. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished tribute for which they have fought and died and have thus nobly advanced the cause of freedom. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the rightful task remaining before us, that these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall have not died in vain, and that this community, under God, shall have a new sense of what is still good, just, and right about America, and the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. We still have a task before us. For the members of the Historical Society and patriots and family members, as Commissioner Drigger said, it is now time for us to discover more about these men. A very brief search last night on my computer revealed that one of these men, Private Raphael Meacham, lies in the hallowed grounds of Arlington Cemetery in Washington, D.C. 3 others are named on monuments in France, and one gentleman is buried right here in Dublin. That still leaves 18 more to go, so the task is not finished. But in conclusion today, before this gathering, and from this point forward, let us as a group and let us as a community assure these men that their names will never be forgotten again. Thank you.